Police bust meth peddling pastor who bragged about his drug dealing prowess. Double life. A meth marketing man of the cloth is the only thing Breaking Bad didn't have. How did we miss that? If truth is stranger than fiction, reality has become the new TV. A Seattle area pastor who admitted to leading a double life and bragged about his abilities to sell drugs. I'm a TRAPSTR. Was caught with the cachet of illicit substances and is being held in a local jail, according to local police. It's no secret that Seattle is facing a growing opioid problem. Not even just a growing opioid problem, a growing overdose problem. And the church is supposed to be somewhere you can go for some sort of guidance, maybe a little outreach. No, not this guy. He's taken a different approach to serving his community. Parker, 57, was arrested on January 19th after he was pulled over at Mount Vernon. Detectives with the Skagit County Interlocal Drug Enforcement Unit, that's a lot, there has to be an acronym for that, had previously received a tip that Parker was dealing drugs in Skagit, Snohomish, and Whatcom counties, including meth, fentanyl powder, fentanyl pills, cocaine, and heroin. As of late for that Seattle area, whenever there's an overdose death, the working assumption, the good guess, is that it's fentanyl. How can this man sit in front of a church? How can he sit in front of people on Sunday and give a sermon knowing that some product that he put out somewhere probably killed somebody over the weekend? The alleged drug dealer was self-admittedly leading a double life according to court documents. Looking in the mirror, who am I? Parker is an officer of Nest Ministries and director of Omni Mana Services, a group that helps those who have troubled past, addictions, or just down in their luck with housing, employment, and counseling, according to his website, Fox 13 reported. Wow. Which was a perfect front for what he was doing, which was the exact opposite, almost like an alter ego, where he's balancing out, he's helping a few people to make up for the people's lives that he's actually destroying. He is married and lives with his wife. Somehow I don't get the vibe that his wife was in on it. Mother-in-law and 14 registered sex offenders on a piece of property in Arlington. One man living at the home told Fox 13 if it had not been for Parker, he would be living on the streets or at housing for registered sex offenders. It makes me wonder, was this man acting as a man of the cloth when he helped these people, or was he helping these people to create a front for his drug dealing activities? Because remember, one man can't serve two masters, but apparently a pastor can serve enough dope to kill a community. Just over a year ago, he was photographed officiating a wedding, according to the Christian Post, and was described as an amazing man of God. However, about 20 miles away from the Arlington home, he has a house in Tulalip where he lives with his girlfriend. Because why not at this point, right? And allegedly conducts his drug business, Fox 13 reported. Tulalip is located about 40 miles from Seattle. Because if you're going to sell drugs on the side, you might as well have a little bit of side everything, right? I get it, because your wife won't understand, but your girlfriend, you can talk to her about the pressures of drug dealing for hours and hours. Investigators say Parker was expanding his business at the time of his arrest last month and admitted to officials that he was picking up supplies 3 to 4 times a week for the drug operation. Bodies are dropping. Business is booming. When he was pulled over, On January 19th, officials found 2.7 pounds of meth, more than 2,000 counterfeit pills, fentanyl powder, cocaine, and a loaded handgun, according to Fox 13. Because if you try him out here in these streets, he'll pop you, then he'll pray over you. Let the big guy know he got one on the way. When police searched his home in Arlington, authorities saw multiple people fleeing the area and hiding, but confirmed none of the sex offenders were aware of Parker's drug business. According to KIRO 7, police recovered a total of 30 firearms from his homes in Arlington and Tulalip, because there's no way you could tell me that at least one or two people wasn't in on what he was doing on the side. So between all those guns on the property and all those people on the property, this could have ended up bad. School apologizes for serving chicken and waffles plus watermelon during Black History Month. You gotta be kidding me. If that's the best you could come up with for Black History Month, don't do us any favors. You're not giving out calzones on Columbus Day. You're not giving out corned beef and cabbage on St. Patty's. Just make sure your lunch lady wears a hairnet and washes her hands, and we're good. Food service vendor Aramark, which is a huge company, them of all people should have known better, is facing criticism for serving students an inexcusably insensitive meal for Black History Month. On February 1st, Nyack Middle School students were offered chicken and waffles with watermelon for lunch. The Nyack, New York school says that the district's food vendor changed the original planned hot lunch menu without notice and served this meal instead. Bad call. It's clear somebody put way too much thought into this. You want to make us happy? Just don't give us any salmonella or foodborne illnesses. In a letter shared with parents on Thursday, which was obtained by People, Principal David Johnson said, "We are extremely disappointed by this regrettable situation and apologize to the entire Nyack community for the cultural insensitivity displayed by our food service provider. I am disappointed that Aramark would serve items that differed from the published monthly menu." You see how they're saying Aramark and food service provider to let everyone know that the school had absolutely nothing to do with this. I see what you did there, especially items that reinforce negative stereotypes concerning the African American community. It's puzzling to me how after 60, 70 years, still the best thing they came up with is letting us use the same water fountain. Later that day, Aramark apologized. "Don't be sorry, be careful," calling the incident a mistake. Green eggs and ham is a mistake. While our menu was not intended as a cultural meal, what was it meant to be then? We acknowledge the timing was inappropriate and our team should have been more thoughtful in its service, the company said in a statement on Nyack's website. "This was a mistake and does not represent the values of our company, and we are committed to doing better in the future." I can't stand those disingenuous blanket statements where it's pre-drafted, follow the script and fill in the blanks. If you thought black people would be happy if you gave them a piece of chicken, just say that. The statement continued to say that the company will work with the district so employees who work in the schools participate in training that aligns to the Nyack School District's vision and commitment to equity-driven work. If they were going to do that type of menu change, they should have checked with the staff checked with the students bounce it off their parents, and it bounces back up the line so it wouldn't be a surprise. We believe this will provide a good learning opportunity to deepen understanding on the impact of systemic biases and negative stereotypes concerning the African American community over lunch. So I guess you got to figure it all out, right? A dispute over a condescending ethnic lunch is what's going to mend racial tensions in America. Now we all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Aramark did not immediately respond to people's requests for comment. What are they really going to say? This is not the first time that Aramark has found itself in hot water for racially stereotyped menus. In 2018, the food vendor served NYU students a Black History Month menu with ribs, collard greens, cornbread, smashed yams, mac and cheese, red Kool-Aid, and watermelon-flavored water. And it doesn't get more tone deaf than that, because black people are known to not eat everybody's cooking, and those are dishes that you only eat from people who you mainly know and trust. The incident angered students, according to CNN, rightfully so, and eventually prompted the university to stop using Aramark as their food provider in 2019. Similarly, back in 2011, the food service company offered students at the University of California Irvine MLK Holiday Special chicken and waffles. According to a Los Angeles Times article, why would someone use Martin Luther King's name for something as basic as chicken and waffles? Is that supposed to make it less racist? Just don't give us Listeria or E. coli and we'll be fine. February 3rd, 2023. New York City mailman caught delivering kilos of cocaine from his truck while on the clock. Oh, New York City, the only city where you can count on your cocaine to come in the mail, but not your unemployment benefits. Through rain and sleet, they'll deliver the snow. Isn't that the post carrier's motto? A Brooklyn mailman was caught making special deliveries, kilos of cocaine on the clock, authorities said. Letter carrier Zawardi Lewis, 35, was charged with drug distribution in Brooklyn federal court on Friday after the United States Postal Service's Office of Inspector General said he delivered at least 3 packages of cocaine to addresses across Brooklyn in December. Unfortunately for the rest of us on the East Coast, we didn't get a flurry for Christmas, but this guy made sure there was a blizzard in Brooklyn. The package, which has a street value of about $60,000, according to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, was one of 3 parcels investigators tracked that came from the same sender, all with delivery addresses around Bed-Stuy, and Lewis delivered the other 2 packages while working his route. Off the top of my head, there was the story about the kilos that was packaged in disguise to look like baked cakes with the icing and everything. You couldn't tell the difference. Then there was the liquid MDMA that was put away into the soup cans. The only way they noticed the shipment was because one of the cans happened to be leaking. This stuff, especially international shipments, this stuff is packaged to go unnoticed. But every once in a while, you get a guy that's paying attention. 1 out of 50, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, and they catch these things and they track it to a guy that's blasting life after death out of his mail truck. Every time Lewis dropped off one of the parcels, he received $500 electronic payments from a woman named Evangeline Neary. According to court papers, investigators began conducting surveillance on Lewis and witnessed him making another alleged cocaine drop from his mail truck at Atlantic Terminal Mall in Fort Greene on January 26, Niest Road, Brooklyn's very own Boston George. $500 seems like a lowball number to put your federal job on the line to commit a federal crime, and with wire transfers, it's almost like writing your name in stone because they can track the money. Harry emerged from the shopping center and retrieved the bag from Lewis's truck, although this time the bag seemed to have a large brick-like object in it. I bet you that's not a Christmas present. According to court papers, investigators later found a kilogram of cocaine in the bag and searched Neri's cell phone, where they found messages with pictures, postal receipts, and packages like the ones Lewis had been delivering. Nies wrote Lewis was arrested and allegedly admitted to agents that he delivered the cocaine to Neri for $500 per package. What's crazy is I was at least expecting him to make it look like he was delivering mail. At least use your job as a disguise. He was just out there hand to hand Pablo Escobaring it. Former Arizona state trooper sentenced after sexually assaulting women during traffic stops. What's especially disturbing is how simple traffic stops, have become the stuff of nightmares, and when a cop pulls someone over now, they're just hoping that all that cop wants to do is write them a ticket. A former Arizona state trooper will spend 5 years, and I'll tell you why that doesn't sit right with me in a second, in prison after he pleaded guilty to multiple sex-related charges stemming from his actions during traffic stops. According to Fox 10 Phoenix, Tremaine Jackson, who was a 13-year veteran of the Arizona Department of Public Safety at the time of his arrest in 2019, was initially charged with 61 counts of sex-related kidnapping and fraud charges, according to the AZDPS website. What doesn't sit right with me is when law enforcement commit these crimes, they always try to play like taking their badge is the biggest part of the punishment, and the jail time comes on the back end. This man is a 13-year veteran. He didn't just start doing this to his woman in the 13th year. He's been doing it since year 1 or 2. And he was using his badge to get away with it. Agreeing to a plea deal, Jackson pleaded guilty to unlawful imprisonment with sexual intent, bribery with sexual intent, attempted kidnapping with sexual intent, fraud with sexual intent, and unlawful sexual conduct by a peace officer, which is a disrespect to the name. And mind you, his plea deal was for 5 years. He did all that, and he got to walk away with 5 years, of which he's probably only going to do the better half of 4. Unless he slips in the shower and falls on a razor 50 consecutive times. One can only dream. In addition to the prison sentence, Jackson was also placed on lifetime probation. Records show Jackson was arrested by AZDPS, thank you for the acronym, on September 10, 2019, after the agency investigated multiple complaints from community members, which included at least 8 victims. 13 years on the force, you know there were more victims, but shout out to the ones who stood up to get this guy out of there. That took a lot of courage, because you don't know if anyone's in on it with them, and you don't know if anyone's going to try to cover for him. In June of that year, the agency received a complaint against Jackson alleging he sexually assaulted a woman during a traffic stop. He was immediately placed on administrative leave, and law enforcement began to investigate. The Arizona Department of Public Safety deeply regrets the reprehensible acts perpetrated by Tremaine Jackson. Jackson broke all trust with the community and the department. We will continue to investigate any new leads or information, said then AZDPS Director Colonel Frank Milstead. With Arizona, all I can picture is open road, vast expanse, just miles and miles of country with nothing around. And you have this guy, he's not looking to do any police work, he's just prowling. More victims and disturbing allegations against Jackson were discovered during the investigation. According to the Associated Press, Jackson would be in a patrol vehicle or marked motorcycle when he would pull over women between midnight and 4:30 a.m. That is terrifying, and detain them for around 2 hours, and there's nothing around for miles, just you and him, charging documents obtained by AP said he would ask what the woman was willing to do to avoid arrest. The misconduct ranged from force touching to asking for cell phone numbers and nude pictures because you're essentially in the middle of nowhere with no oncoming traffic, no witnesses. This guy can say anything happened. He can say he pulled up on an abandoned car. There was nobody in it. In 2 cases, Jackson was accused of grabbing a woman's hand and putting it on his genitals. He was also accused of pressuring a woman to agree to oral sex and following her to a friend's house. The woman reportedly ran inside and locked the door. Good for her. Quick thinking. I wouldn't be surprised to hear stories of him holding women at gunpoint to perform these actions on him. It doesn't seem out of his range. Father sues after Wisconsin officer filmed kneeling on 12-year-old girl's neck. I don't know who introduced this tactic of putting your knee full force on someone's throat or putting your knee full force on someone's back, but it's clear it's done a lot more harm than good, and these cops are having a very tough time unlearning it. It's become like their go-to move or something. Whenever I see this tactic performed on someone, it always reminds me of a farmer or someone in the wild trying to take down an animal. An Illinois man sued a former Wisconsin police officer on Monday who was filmed kneeling on his 12-year-old daughter's neck while breaking up a fight at a Kenosha middle school last March. Jarrell Perez filed a lawsuit against former officer Sean Guchow, the Kenosha Police Department, and Kenosha Unified School District over the incident, accusing the officer of using unreasonable and excessive force against his daughter, and the police department and school district of failing to properly train Guchow. What type of piss-poor police officer has to dig that deep into his bag of tricks for a 12-year-old girl? It's like Goku dropping the spirit bomb in the beginning of the fight. If he has to go that far for a child, you can only assume that he would just shoot an adult for nothing other than frustration. While attempting to break up a fight between Perez's daughter and another student last March. Yeah, must have been like a real riot in San Quentin or a rampage in Rikers. Guchow allegedly held the 12-year-old girl face down on the cafeteria floor and put his right knee on her neck in what the lawsuit described as an unlawful chokehold. Perez's daughter suffered a traumatic brain injury, cervical strain, and recurrent headaches, as well as emotional distress and mental trauma from the incident. This is terrible, according to court documents. All I can see is someone that has a child by at least 80 to 100 plus pounds and using his full force, no self-discipline, no self-restraint, and no self-control. The lawsuit also alleged that the Kenosha Police Department permitted Guchow to become a school security officer despite a previous report that described him in his previous role as a police officer in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, as emotional, panicked, or loses their temper, and his field performance as unacceptable. So somewhere someone took pity on him and said, hey, we're going to throw you a bone. We know you're not supposed to be policing on the streets, but we're going to make it easy. We're going to give you a gig watching kids. That's all you have to do is just watch the kids. And his pathetic ass couldn't even do that. Which resulted in what appears to be debilitating injuries to this child. Talk about dropping the ball. Florida man who broke into a gas station, stole dog food and smokes, caught after leaving behind debit card. Police. It's Florida. A can of dog food and a pack of smokes might be considered a romantic dinner for two. Nothing cleanses your palate like a smooth Marlboro Red after eating ground horse and gravy. A Florida man is under arrest after police say he stole from a gas station and left his debit card with his name on it at the scene of the crime. Deputies with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office responded to an alarm at a gas station early Sunday morning in Palm Coast, Florida, and found the front door of the business unlocked. Fox 35 Orlando reported. Me personally, I'm not going to steal anything. But if I'm going to steal anything, I'm not going to bring my wallet, my debit card, or any other identification along with me. For all that, he might as well have just waited until the store opened to make the purchase. After searching the gas station, deputies found a debit card with the name Lance Kurtz sitting on the counter near a register. Security camera footage showed a man entering the store from the back and stealing several items before unlocking the front door and walking out. Police say they recognized Kurtz, 21, from a vehicle fire earlier that night, and they found him at the disabled vehicle where he admitted to breaking into the location and taking the items. A great question for management, and you know how much I love management, is how the hell was it so easy for this guy to get in? Because he just walked in like he was shopping, like the store was open. So that I could come back later and pay for it, Kurtz told police when asked why he left his debit card behind, just so they knew my name, just in case I got picked up. I didn't want to steal anything. That's against the law. I don't know if they teach you guys that. Bless his heart. I think the cops believed he believed he wasn't stealing, because if they thought he was being smart, they would have gave him a few potatoes upside the head for that statement. Kurtz was arrested and charged with armed burglary of a dwelling or structure and petite theft, and was released on $10,000 bond. But they gave that guy in Texas that kidnapped and abused that woman for a whole week. They let him walk off with a $1 bond. I'm not going to let it go. He must have really wanted those items to break into a closed convenience store to get them. Sheriff Rick Staley said leaving a debit card behind does not absolve you from theft or committing burglary, because that's against the law. I don't know if they taught you that. Just me saying that, I could see the nightsticks are flying. I'd rather not. New Jersey school chief stunningly victim blames bully teen Adriana Cook's suicide on drug use and dad's affair. I think that's a very callous, insensitive, and irresponsible stance to take from someone who is responsible for the safety of hundreds, maybe thousands of children, instead of admitting to the ineptitude of himself and his staff for not being more vigilant and exercising more control over what goes on in these hallways and these classrooms. A New Jersey school superintendent shifted blame for 14-year-old Adriana Cook's death onto the bullied teen and her devastated dad, claiming the youngster used drugs and that her father's affair led to her inner turmoil. What I'm not understanding about this is, how can the school know so much? How can the school know about the potential drug use? How can the school know about the bullying? How can the school know that there was instability within her household and not know that any one of these things alone makes her an at-risk teen? Listen, you can't stop her father from sleeping around, but if you can help her get a handle on the drug use or the bullying, maybe both, and let her know that there's someone out there that doesn't want to see her fall by the wayside, maybe this young girl is here with us today. When asked what school services were provided to Adriana before she took her own life days after she was beaten at school, Superintendent Triantafios Parlapanides babbled on about the grieving family's private pain. Her father was having an affair at the end of her 6th grade, just spilling all the tea. Her father married the woman he had an affair with and moved her into the house. Parlapanides, superintendent of Central Regional High School in Berkeley Township, wrote in an email to the Daily Mail. This ain't the real, this ain't the talk. I don't want to hear about no gossip, no dish, or no tea. I need one of two answers. What did you do? What are you doing? And what are you going to do? Either that or I want to hear about your resignation. Her grades and choices declined in 7th and 8th grade. We offered her drug rehab and mental services on 5 occasions, but the father refused every time. He said, which may be an issue, but what does that really have to do with the bullying at the end of the day? The administrator then sunk deeper into the dark revelation, claiming the alleged affair played a role in the death of Adriana's mom. We tried helping her several times, but mother's suicide was a major reason she started making poor choices, the school official said. And it's saddening for this girl to lose her mother only to be in a situation where her father might seem a little preoccupied, to say the least. But the bullying happened on school property. The bullying happened on your watch. And let's say school is the only place she could go to for a few hours to get away from her home situation. Now they're beating on her at school. That's incredible odds stacked against any teenager. Adriana took her own life in a closet 2 days after a video was posted online of a group of girls attacking her in a school hallway February 1st, hitting her with a water bottle, that's assault, and taunting her as she walked with her boyfriend. The superintendent's comments came after he appeared to defend the school and possibly the bullies who beat Cook. In a Facebook post, there are two sides to every story, and when was the last time you were at Central? Parla Panides responded after an angry parent said he'd never send his children to the school following Adriana's brutal bullying. Not only is this man not fit to be in charge of all these children, he's just a horrible individual. I knew in the beginning of the article he was giving off spineless, self-serving vibes, but you're always surprised to hear somebody show their true colors in such a fashion. Adriana's heartbroken dad, Michael Cook, denied drug counseling was offered to his daughter, who she said had merely been experimenting with a weed vape like plenty of other teens her age. He's pretty much blaming her. Cook told the Post in response to the superintendent's statements, "My daughter was attacked in your school and you did nothing, and now you want to blame this on everyone else except yourself because you failed and you suck at your job." He railed, "You should probably resign and maybe even become a greeter at Walmart. I don't give an expletive," he fumed. Man, this guy is such a sleaze. If he was a Walmart greeter, he wouldn't check any receipts, and when everything came up stolen, he'd blame it on self-checkout. That's the type of person we're dealing with here. Cook told the Post Parla Panides was showboating for the media. I believe it, and insisted the tragic death of Adriana's mom was unrelated to his daughter's suicide. Adriana's mother's passing 7 years ago has nothing to do with why she passed now. Cook said one thing has nothing to do with the other. Cook said he met with Parla Panides on Monday, but the superintendent declined to discuss the events leading to Adriana's death, insisting instead they talk about his son Ethan's integration back to school. "I said I'm not expletive here to talk about my son Ethan. My daughter is dead. Why the expletive would I talk about him right now?" he recounted. This guy has to be gearing up for politics because he only gives you answers for questions that you didn't ask. In an attempt to make you mad, and then when you blow up at him, he immediately ends the conversation. Book, who has previously criticized school officials for failing to protect his daughter, acknowledged the teen's mother had battled addiction and died tragically in 2015. Earlier this week, Paula Penedez defended the school's decision not to call police after Adriana was beaten, saying it was against school policy. How? They assaulted this girl and they used an object to assault her. That's aggravated assault, and insisting the bullies involved were suspended and would have suffered a double whammy if educators called cops. They need to get that guy out of there immediately because that girl was assaulted and law enforcement should have been involved. A suspension for these kids is nothing more than them just being home, playing on a computer and watching TV for a few days. This is how bullies thrive, through inaction, little or no consequences. Criminal confection. Brooklyn woman convicted of poisoning friend with cheesecake to steal her identity. I guess I'll never have to worry about anyone stealing my identity because I can't stand cheesecake. Don't at me either. It's an acquired taste that I have never acquired. A Queens jury convicted a 47-year-old Brooklyn woman for poisoning her friend. She can't be that much of a friend, with a drug-laced cheesecake in an attempt to kill her and steal her identity, Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz announced Thursday. Oh, New York City, the only city where at least your friend is enough of a friend to kill you with your favorite dessert. On August 28, 2016, Victoria Nazariova gifted a friend who looked similar to her a cheesecake laced with phenazepam, a powerful sedative. After the woman ate the cheesecake, she started to feel sick. Her last memories before losing consciousness were Nazariova walking around her room. Did she walk across the bridge and get the cheesecake from Junior's like Puffy told her to? Oh, God, it's cheesecake. The next day, a friend discovered the woman unconscious in her bed, surrounded by phenazepam pills, as if she had attempted suicide. The victim survived the ordeal. The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. When she returned home from the hospital, she found her passport, employment authorization card, and some valuables were missing. The moral of this story is be yourself, kids. Don't try to be anybody else. The jury saw through the deception and schemes of the defendant. She laced a slice of cheesecake with a deadly drug, apparently not deadly enough, good for the victim, so she could steal her unsuspecting victim's most valuable possession, her identity, said Katz in a statement. Fortunately, her victim survived, and the poison led right back to the culprit. The defendant deserves to be held accountable for a crime with a long term of incarceration. Here's an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. What if she didn't have to kill the victim to change identities, and that's really the victim going to jail? We'll talk about nightmares. Wisconsin mother fatally shot by man who was out on $250 bail for earlier arrest for punching and strangling her. As these type of stories grow more and more familiar, I always notice the pattern of domestic violence, low bail or no bail. Then the person gets out, make a direct line to the victim to either pick up where they left off or finish the job completely. Now, I understand you can't lock somebody up for something that they haven't done, but the way this bail system is a revolving door, it hasn't served as a deterrent. In fact, it only makes the person even more angry towards the victim. Daquan McMillan, 28, was found guilty last month of first-degree intentional homicide of 23-year-old Brittany Meyer. Fox 6 Milwaukee reported he was sentenced last week to life in prison. This is what burns me up. So you had the couple in New York where the guy beat his woman so bad it was on Facebook Live. He threatened to kill her, and they did nothing. They held him a few days, just long enough for his hostility to fester. And when they let him out, get out of here, you crazy kid. He made a beeline for that woman and killed her while she was taking the kids to school. It's the same thing here. He assaulted and strangled this woman. It might have been aggravated assault. It might have been attempted murder, but it wasn't murder. Get out there and commit murder, and we'll talk about your extended stay. Make it make sense. Meyer was fatally shot in June 2021 and left behind two children she shared with McMillan. Did he once even stop to think about the kids in all this? She was a wonderful woman. Ava McClinton, Meyer's great aunt, told Fox 6 shortly after the woman's death, "Please, America, stop killing, stop. We don't want this to happen to another family," McClinton added. "We love our beautiful Brittany, and we pray for her every day. We love her, and we're going to miss her." This man was a monster. He wasn't thinking about the well-being of his children when he killed their mother. It was just tunnel vision. How many times are we going to have to watch somebody stand in front of the media and give that sad statement before we realize that domestic violence, spouse abuse, anything along that spectrum is rarely a one-time occurrence? It's almost always bound to escalate. Prosecutors later found that McMillan had multiple run-ins with the law. What a shock. And was out on bail for two separate cases at the time of Meyer's killing. He was charged with running from police in 2019 while in possession of cocaine, meth, and a gun. Fox 6 reported in 2021. How was he even on the streets? The court agreed to a $5,000 bond, but made it a signature bond, meaning McMillan did not have to make a cash deposit or put up collateral with the court to get out of jail. Or, in other words, get out of here and don't come back until you commit murder. It's sad. That's the message that you're sending. While he was still out on a 2019 bond, McMillan was arrested again in November 2020. Because why not? When you know you're not going to jail for anything, the world is your oyster. For attacking Meyer, prosecutors said McMillan punched the woman, choked her until she blacked out, and pulled her hair. If they treated any one of his open charges or any one of his prior arrests like the hardcore crimes that they actually were, instead of treating them like they were just parking tickets, this woman might be here with us today. We didn't know he was doing all these things to her, McClinton said in 2021. He was charged with strangulation, battery, and bail jumping, and was ultimately granted a $250 cash bond in the case. A slap in the face to this woman and her family. It's only $250, right? McMillan asked his attorney, Darrell Everett Smith, according to a digital recording of the hearing obtained by Fox 6. Yeah, it's only $250, man. That's pretty cheap. Smith responded, just mocking the system. Roughly 7 months later, after McMillan allegedly attacked Meyer, he was accused of shooting her to death. Legislation and judiciary system, how do you sleep at night knowing that this was a monster of your creation? And these cases are only getting closer and closer together. They're only getting more and more familiar. Flushing man sentenced after selling guns, drugs to undercover cop. Oh, New York City. We gotta stop meeting like this. The only city where they still ask, are you a cop? If you're a cop, you got to say you're a cop. A man from Flushing was sentenced to prison after selling drugs and firearms to an undercover officer in 2021. It's a one-stop shop. You don't have to look any further, the Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz said over the weekend. If you remember, Melinda Katz is also on the case where the woman poisoned her friend with the cheesecake so she could steal her identity. Business is booming for Melinda. Sean Lynn, 37, was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison after selling over 40 grams of meth and a loaded semi-automatic pistol. Stop selling loaded pistols to people lest you be the first person it gets used on, to an undercover detective between February and March 2021, prosecutors said. All I could picture is this guy coming to him for meth and only meth, and he's asking him if he wants to buy a gun. Yeah, sure, why not? Put him one step closer to getting that gold watch. Mom arrested after kindergartner daughter writes school story about her shooting at dad. We have to start exercising a lot more discretion over what we expose our children to, especially at such an early age where a child's mind is like a sponge. It can't separate lines of thinking. They're just sucking it all in. And we hear about too many cases where people are having sex around their kids. They're using drugs around their kids. In this case, shooting guns in front of their kids. And the kid just doesn't know that line of thinking, so it files it away as normal behavior. Father hit mother in the eye before the shooting, the little girl's story said, but the father was not arrested. Weren't we just talking about this? How domestic violence has a very high likelihood of only escalating and not stopping? A Tennessee mother was arrested this week after her kindergartner wrote a story about an argument between her parents that ended with the mother firing a gun inside the house. Shelby County deputies arrested 28-year-old Kadra Johnson on Monday, charging her with 4 counts of reckless endangerment. WREG reported deputies said 4 children were inside the home at the time of the shooting. If I was any teacher, but especially if I was a kindergarten teacher, I would be absolutely shocked to see one of my students write a story like this, only to find out that it's not a story. This is a kid trying to unpack a traumatic experience. Mother and father got into a fight. Mom told him to get out because he was smoking too much. Father hit mother in the eye. Mother said, look what you've done. The young girl wrote, mother got the gun from under the bed. I was in the living room and my sisters and brother were in the room. Mom pulled the gun on father and shot 3 times. The bullet hit the wall. Mother told him to sleep in his car in the driveway and not to come back or she will shoot him again. It's not funny, it's fascinating because I talk to you guys almost every other night and I don't think I could have gave a more clear description. Deputies who responded to the home found Johnson inside. She told them she had been locked out for an hour and that 2 of her children were inside. The deputies forced their way in and firefighters checked out the children who were fine. The deputies said they found several bullet holes in walls inside the house. Johnson told the deputies that at the time of the shooting, 3 of her children were sitting on the couch and the 4th was in the bathroom. Her husband was not hurt, but not for lack of trying. Don't get me wrong, neither him or her was right in this story, but some people are just not having it, especially you beating on them in front of their kids, and he picked the perfect time to find out that she was one of the ones that wasn't having it. Mars Wrigley fined after two workers fell into a vat of chocolate in a workplace safety incident. Right before Valentine's Day, ladies, enjoy. Now you know why the candy was marked down the day before Valentine's Day. A Pennsylvania confectionery factory is being fined more than $14,500 over a 2022 incident that involved two workers falling into a vat of chocolate. No golden ticket, no nothing. I don't know about you, but whenever I picture someone being dipped from head to toe in chocolate, I never thought it would be in a life or death situation. Somehow it's not quite sexy anymore. According to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, the two contract workers at an M&M Mars factory in Elizabethtown were neither authorized nor trained to work in the tanks. They were like temps. OSHA is holding Mars Wrigley responsible for the incident, the Associated Press reported. The pair were reportedly employed by an outside contracting firm. It was a temp agency, just say it, and fell into the chocolate tank in June while performing maintenance work, officials said. Oh, that's not peanuts in that candy bar, sweetheart. I joke, but I would like to think that they got rid of the chocolate. But who knows, if they were willing to hire untrained temps to work on their machinery, then who knows, they might have just tried to salvage some. They had to be rescued by emergency responders who cut a hole in the bottom of the partially filled tank to free them, according to the AP. Both were taken to the hospital. A Mars Wrigley representative told reporters that employee safety is a top priority for our business. There it is. I can't stand those disingenuous fill-in-the-blank statements. If you gave a damn about employee safety, you would have made sure those guys were properly trained. It's not about employee safety. It's about cheap labor and productivity. As always, we appreciate OSHA's collaborative approach to working with us to conduct the after-action review. That's right, suck up the OSHA. No matter how big your business is, they could come in and shut you down for little or nothing. February 13th, 2023, Halfcast 408, episode 408, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? February 10th, 2023, Halfcast 407, episode 407, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? February 8th, 2023, Halfcast 406, episode 406, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? February 5th, 2023, Halfcast 405, episode 405, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. shall we? Man run over, killed while allegedly trying to steal catalytic converter. Catalytic converters are the official currency of meth addicts everywhere and accepted in more places than Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. A man was killed when he was run over by the driver of a car from which he was allegedly trying to steal a catalytic converter in Southern California, SoCal. I think we have to call OSHA on this one. It's a miscommunication. You got to put some cones out there, wear a vest, hell, have a buddy stand on the side of the car to let people know that you're under there. Don't pull off. Just before 6 p.m. Tuesday in Palmdale, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department deputies found a man lying on the ground near a 4x4 Ford Excursion. I love how they let us know he got hit with that four-wheel drive and another smaller vehicle next to it, the department said in a press release. Investigators said the driver of the Ford had been asleep in her vehicle. She was in the car when she woke to the sound of a man sawing off her vehicle's catalytic converter. She immediately put her car in reverse. Rightfully so, the LASD said. What type of barnyard Fisher-Price my first catalytic theft thief doesn't at least look in the window before going for the catalytic? There could have been a gold bar in the center console. After she felt a bump like she ran something over, she stopped her vehicle and called 911 for help. The release said the man was taken by ambulance to a local hospital where he was declared dead. The three people, a man and two women, who accompanied the deceased man in the smaller vehicle were arrested by deputies. So you mean to tell me this guy had three other people with him, and while he was taking all the risks, not one of them noticed that there was someone in the car that they were stealing from? What a way to go out. It's so hard to find good help these days. No further information was available. I have some information. Measure twice, cut once. And work alone. This guy was facing a four-way split if he had made it out of there, and the other three people weren't even watching his back at the end of the day. Pregnant woman charged for shooting baby daddy's other pregnant lover. Come on, we all know the pregnant lover shouldn't have been the intended target. The only thing worse than cheating on your partner and getting pregnant or getting someone pregnant is cheating on your partner and bringing back an STD. On Wednesday, February 15th, Shantoya Williamson, a 26-year-old pregnant woman from Detroit, Motown, was charged for the shooting of another pregnant woman she saw with her baby's father in Centerline. Centerline is a very small city. In 2020, it had about 8,552 people. That's a very small town to think you're just going to double dip and hide. Wear a condom. Half the town knows your business. I guess he figured if there's going to be a population boom in his little city, it has to start with him. According to the prosecutor's office, Williamson kept an eye on her baby daddy and found him speaking with the other woman early Sunday. She was running surveillance on this guy. He ain't even know. I wonder what tipped her off that he might have been out there living a double life. Because in those cases, the only thing worse than finding out that you're right is finding out that you're right. The mother-to-be allegedly walked up, shot the other woman, and was later arrested after she had attempted to flee the scene of the crime. Authorities said both women have been impregnated by the same man. Even if he was in a relationship with just one of these women at the time that this happened, let's be honest with each other. He could have been 100% single at the time that this happened. Getting two women pregnant by you at the same time is very messy. Very messy and highly irresponsible. According to prosecutors involved with the case, the victim was rushed to the hospital but didn't suffer from any life-threatening injuries. Good. The condition of her unborn child is still unknown. Not good. And this is where we can't let our anger and frustration make decisions for us based off of what we see right in front of our faces. Because knowing this guy, he's interested in sleeping around, making babies, you might have to prepare for the possibility that you're going to have to fly that plane solo unless he gets his act together, comes around, and decides to man up. The 26-year-old was arrested in 37th District Court, where she was charged with assault with intent to murder, that's a life felony, and fourth-degree child abuse, that's a one-year misdemeanor. Judge Michael E. Chuba set the bond at $750,000 and issued to have Williamson be held at Macomb County Jail. The judge added if she is able to make bond, she would not be allowed to contact the victim, avoid firearms, obviously, and be fitted for a steel tether. That's an ankle monitor or ankle bracelet. They make it sound so colonial. What happens to that unborn child is going to play a large part in the type of punishment that she receives for shooting that pregnant woman. Now, I don't condone violence, but she should have shot that guy in a tool bag. Blew his batteries clean off and did the state of Michigan a great service. February 16th, 2023, Halfcast 409, episode 409. Let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? Texas third grader finds gun superintendent left in school bathroom. Police open investigation. I would have liked to have said 1 step forward, 3 steps back, but that would indicate that we've been making progress with this whole gun school mess. Definitely a check for the lost column. A third grader at Rising Star Elementary School found a gun left by the school superintendent in a restroom stall last month, and now a police investigation is underway per Texas news station KTAB-TV. What are they really going to investigate? If the gun was planted there like the restaurant scene from The Godfather? This was a very messy mistake, and fortunately that kid was smart enough to have not made it a costly one. He could have took the gun and just wanted to show his friends or something. Boom, now there's an accident. The incident happened in the small town of Rising Star, Texas. The school superintendent, Robbie Stuteville, who openly carries a firearm at the school along with the principal, told the news station that he had taken off the gun while using the restroom and put it on the stall. How childish do you have to be to still need to take everything off just to use the bathroom? He said he had forgotten his gun and left the stall for about 15 minutes before the student found it. He knew he felt a few pounds lighter. He just didn't know it was because his gun was missing. The student didn't touch the gun and instead went to notify a teacher of the weapon, according to the news station Smart Kid. All I could see is him walking the halls for the rest of the school year with people asking him, "Don't forget your gun, Robbie. You got your gun?" Don't forget your gun, Robbie. There was never a danger other than the obvious, which is the worst danger. You left your gat in the bathroom in an elementary school, Stouffville told KTAB-TV, adding that he was proud of the student for how he handled the situation. This is one of those examples of guns in schools. Regardless of who takes responsibility, they are a considerable danger, and one should school their child to be on the lookout for any unusual placement of a weapon or anything else, Stouffville said. Did anyone else see how he just generalized the whole situation and took absolutely no direct responsibility for what he did? You can't make this up. Not even a pizza party for the kid. Rising Star Police Chief Don Brayley confirmed to the news station that an investigation into the incident is underway after their office was notified Wednesday. After receiving a call about the incident, People was unable to reach the Rising Star Police Department for comment. As for Stouffville, he said he is no longer bringing the weapon to the school. The smartest thing he's done thus far. Rising Star school board meetings to discuss the incident are ongoing per the station. Put that kid's name on your office door for a whole week because he just saved your job. Then what's hilarious is he's going to tell everybody he's leaving his gun home like he changed his own line of thinking and nothing else. According to Texas law, per the Texas State Library, firearms are prohibited from school grounds regardless if the school is private or public, unless the school has expressly given written authorization for the person to be allowed to bring a firearm. In my opinion, for someone that's a superintendent or for someone that's a principal that's in charge of so many children, that's in charge of the safety of so many children, I don't mind if he has a gun locked away in his office or a gun locked away in his desk. He just did something incredibly irresponsible. I want to hear your comments. What do you think? Do you think he should lose his job? Or do you think it's a situation where there's no harm, no foul? Alaska woman pleads guilty to killing best friend after man catfished her and offered to pay $9 million. You want to know what's absolutely insane about this is that it's not a case where something sounded too good to be true. There's nothing about a complete total stranger that's enticing someone to commit murder for money that sounds too good to be true. But if you can't see this with your own two eyes, maybe you need someone in your corner, someone that you can trust to spin you and turn you in the right direction, you know, like a best friend. An Alaska woman pleaded guilty to killing her best friend after a man she met online said he would pay her $9 million if she sent him photos and videos of her committing murder. Denali Bremer, 22, pleaded guilty Wednesday to first-degree murder in the June 2019 death of Cynthia Hoffman, the Alaska Department of Law said. The person that told her to do it didn't even expect her to do it. Her dumb ass took the bait. Stupid. You want to talk about true friendship, you want to talk about true loyalty, and a role reversal, her friend would have never even entertained that thought. Hoffman, 19, died from a gunshot wound to the back of the head. Her body was dumped in the Eklutna River about 27 miles northeast of Anchorage, court documents state. The Anchorage District Attorney's Office previously said that Bramer, who was 18 at the time of the crime, which is years beyond the age of knowing that this was wrong, started planning the murder after a man she met online told her that he would give her money in exchange for evidence of her killing someone. There's no way this guy wasn't running this line time after time, person after person, again and again, until he ran into old Gullible over here, had her at hello. Bremer knew the man as Tyler and had begun a relationship. A relationship, really? But authorities said he had catfished her and created a fake persona as a millionaire from Kansas. His real name is Darren Schillmiller from Indiana, authorities said. She thought she was the lucky one. She thought she hit it big. Millionaire from Kansas. All she got to do is commit murder and seal the deal. She's set for life. And it turns out it was a guy in an Indiana trailer park with Cheeto dust around his mouth and spotty Wi-Fi. It's horrible. Court documents state that Bremer and Schillmiller started planning several crimes in exchange for money, including the rape and murder of someone in Alaska. Mind you, the conversation said Alaska only, not Indiana, because when he gets offline with her, he's going into real life to his job at Arby's. Not gonna mess that up. Bremer chose Hoffman as the victim and recruited four friends. Four friends? Who was not noticing that this is a fool with an idiot's plan? Caden McIntosh, Caleb Leyland, and two other unnamed juveniles to help her, according to authorities. Bremer told them they would get substantial shares of money for helping her kill Hoffman. I don't understand how anyone would fall in line behind this girl and let her march them off the cliff like lemmings. I don't get it. Authorities said that Bremer and two of the teens tricked Hoffman into coming to Thunderbird Falls under the guise of a hiking trip. That's her best friend. She wouldn't expect this in a million years. They bound her hands, feet, and mouth with duct tape, shot her in the back of the head. This is messed up. And dumped her body in the river, court documents state. As the crime was being committed, Bremer sent photos and videos to Schillmiller, authorities said. After killing Hoffman, the group destroyed some of her personal belongings and texted her parents that they had dropped her off at a park. Police said there was no evidence Hoffman was sexually assaulted. What's especially heartbreaking about this is Bremer had Hoffman by a couple years, maybe 2-3 years. So you can see Hoffman looking at her as a big sister type. Nothing's going to happen to me while big sis is around, and she ended up leading this girl to her death. Alaska Department of Law said Wednesday that Bremer admitted the facts contained in the complaint initially filed in the case. The Anchorage Police Department, FBI, and other agencies assisted in investigating Hoffman's death. Bremer was arrested in 2019 and indicted on first-degree murder, first-degree conspiracy to commit murder, first-degree solicitation of murder, tampering with physical evidence, and 2 charges of second-degree murder. Alaska doesn't have the death penalty. It's never had the death penalty since it's become a part of the United States. But if it did, she would be a strong candidate for it. Following her plea of guilty to first-degree murder, the other charges were dismissed. The Alaska Department of Law said she is scheduled to be sentenced in August and faces 30 to 99 years. I hope she does all 99 years to the day in prison. Her attorney did not immediately return a request for comment on Saturday. Shill Miller was arrested and indicted on 5 murder counts, online court records show. Out of all 99 years, and I hope she does every second of it, how many letters do you think she's going to get from her homeboy Shill Miller? McIntosh and Leyland were indicted on 4 murder counts. According to court records, McIntosh was also indicted on tampering with evidence. All 3 have pleaded not guilty and are awaiting trial. Their attorneys could not immediately be reached. The system should not show them any leniency. The system should not spare them at all, because each and every one of them had a chance to stop this from happening, and none of them did anything. February 19th, 2023, Halfcast 410, episode 410. Let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? Former Georgia cop charged with murder and missing teens' death. This is what's always been a more concerning aspect of cop crime for me, is unlike civilians, police officers have the training and the resources at their disposal to get rid of evidence, to falsify documents, to bury any leads, to just muddy the waters, to hinder, if not stop, an investigation completely. Prosecutors upgraded charges against a former Georgia police officer who is now accused of kidnapping and murdering teenager Susana Morales. Miles Bryant, 22, was arrested last week and originally charged with concealing the death of another and false reporting of a crime after the 16-year-old's body was found in Gwinnett County. Morales had been missing since July 26th, when she seemingly vanished while she was walking to her home. Unlike complete and total strangers, where we're all taught from day one to not talk to strangers, you can see where a police officer might be able to get someone to stop, get them to let their guard down by asking if they're okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he offered this girl a ride. She texted her mom at 9:40 p.m. to say she was on her way, and police believe she died between 10 p.m. July 26th and 2 a.m. July 27th. Her naked body was found on February 6th, about 20 miles from where she was last seen alive, and her cell phone last pinged between 10:21 and 10:26 p.m. on July 26th, according to police. The way that timeline is so close together between that text message and the time of death one of two things. Either she was with him already, or things just took an unexpected turn as soon as she sent that text off. Bryant is suspected of sexual assault according to the arrest warrant, but he had not been charged with a sex-based crime as of Wednesday when Gwinnett County Police Chief James McClure announced the new charges. If there's evidence of a sexual assault, give him the sexual assault. What are you holding back for? Give it all to him. Cook his boots. And if you're a police officer, you should take special offense to this because he used his badge to commit this crime. The Doraville Police Department fired Bryant immediately after his arrest and released this statement. The city of Doraville was notified the afternoon of Monday, February 13th, that a now former police officer is being served felony arrest warrants by the Gwinnett Police Department in connection with the disappearance and murder of Susanna Morales. The statement read, "The city of Doraville and its police department are fully cooperating with the Gwinnett Police Department in its investigation of Mr. Bryant. Our prayers rest with the family and friends of Susanna Morales and everyone else affected by this tragedy. My condolences also to the friends and family of that young lady. There can't be a worse feeling than waiting for a loved one to come home and they just never come home." Kidnapping suspect allegedly expressed interest in cannibalism after luring woman to apartment for the thrill of killing. There you have it, ladies. If a guy offers you over for dinner and then tells you look sweet enough to eat, get the hell out of there. It's not smooth talk, it's meal prep. Deputies announced that the defendant in a violent for the thrill kidnapping case is now charged with attempted murder. The new warrant against Hunter Chase Nance, 24, was issued Monday, according to the Rowan County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina. The victim said she met Nance earlier, February 15th, right after Valentine's Day. Authorities previously claimed she said that Nance approached her at a gas station, shot his shot, and they exchanged phone numbers. Officials said in a WHNS report, Nance allegedly offered later to take her to his place. He wasted no time. What's wild about this is apparently the same characteristics that make someone a homicidal maniac are also the same traits that make someone come off as confident and charming. That's one hell of a minefield to navigate. At some point, she agreed over the phone for the male to pick her up, and the two arrived at his residence, deputies wrote in a Facebook post. On arriving there at the home in the city of China Grove, he locked the door and attacked her with a knife, officials said, but the woman fled. She was able to fight him off and ran from the scene with minor injuries, deputies wrote. People called authorities after seeing her walking injured. While being interviewed by detectives, he admitted that he had planned to kill the female for the thrill, authorities wrote. He doesn't seem like he's out of his mind. From the approach all the way up until the attack, everything seemed planned. in practice. So if I'm an investigator, my question would be, has he done this before, or has he at least attempted to do this before? He allegedly expressed interest in cannibalism and killing people, according to the WHS report. Nance said he picked the woman randomly. Officials claim authorities originally arrested him for first-degree kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, and false imprisonment. Nance is currently locked up on a total bond of $1.2 million. Let's be honest with each other. He doesn't look like the dating pool has been particularly nice to him, does he? God finally throws him one down the middle, and he's not thinking of soulmate marriage. He's thinking of eating her. And here I am, can't even get a text back. I mean, obviously it could have ended up worse. His next door neighbor, Paula Fulbright, told the outlet, "Thank God the girl was strong enough to fight him off and get away." Absolutely. Honestly, I've had thoughts go across my mind. What if he tried to break in my house and get one of my daughters? That's terrible that I even have that thought. I wish I hadn't, but that is the reality of it right now. His method or his modus operandi doesn't seem like it calls for him to snatch someone off the streets or break into someone's home, but he still is very dangerous because he's looking to use charm, he's looking to use romance to get someone's guard down. The next thing you know, you're stewing in a pot with carrots and potatoes. Sorry. Texas sisters threaten to kill the mood, murder neighbors over loud sex. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's too early in the year to be such a hater. This is how you block your blessings. Don't worry about the sex that they having over there. Worry about why it's not going down around your way. Two Texas sisters are facing decades in prison after they threatened to shoot their neighbors dead for having loud sex. What? Alexis Davis, 25, and Treasure Bibbs, 21, of Houston, allegedly both pulled guns on a couple in a neighboring apartment on February 13th over concerns they were making too much noise during sex, according to the Smoking Gun. What, did they interrupt your Saturday evening sister-to-sister Scrabble tournament? Oh, such fun. Were you knitting sweaters for your mini cats? You're giving off single, miserable, and very backed up vibes right now. The Killjoy siblings, I would have said cockblock kids, but okay, were busted for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which carries a maximum penalty of 20 years behind bars, according to the outlet. Can we get these girls some rosebuds or something? The incident wasn't the first time Davis and Bibbs had threatened to kill lovebirds Kevin Frank, 30, Kiera McPherson, 29, and their children in connection with their lusty liaisons at the Worthington development across the highway from the George Bush Intercontinental Airport, the report said. So you mean to tell me a couple making love is even drowning out the sound of planes taking off and landing all day? Cut the crap, stop the cap, you're a hater. Alexis Davis and Treasure Bibbs allegedly previously left death threat notes on the couple's door over them having sex. Really? Houston Police Department. Davis had previously been accused of trying to steal a 2008 Buick from a car lot. See, you're focused on the wrong thing, and then you're mad at the wrong thing after the $8,000 vehicle was repossessed following her failure to make any payments on it. According to the report, she allegedly had broken into the car lot in the middle of the night and driven off in the car, but officials reportedly found it in front of her home after she neglected to remove its GPS tracking device. Davis was being held on $200,000 bond as she awaited a trial in connection with the Grand Theft Auto case. Bibbs was freed on $15,000 bond. Would you really want to go home after that? Because at this point, they'd be doing it just for spite. Just really ringing all the bells. February 22nd, 2023, Halfcast 411, episode 411, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys, an evening of reflection. Shall we? Serial killer's child rapist cellmate found dead in a California prison. There are no mistakes, just happy accidents. A convicted serial killer is suspected of killing his pedophile cellmate less than a month after he arrived at prison, according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Since they're both violent offenders, very violent offenders, they're probably locked in that cell together for 23 hours a day. What do you tell the guards when they find them, that it wasn't you? You don't know what happened? He slipped and hit his head on the toilet 25 times? Juan Villanueva, 53, who was serving a life sentence with the possibility of parole for aggravated sexual assault of a child under 14, was found unresponsive by North Kern State Prison officials during a welfare check at 8:49 a.m. Friday, according to CDCR. By 9:03 a.m., Villanueva was pronounced dead. He shared a cell with 51-year-old Ramon Escobar, who pleaded guilty last year to killing 5 men and wounding 7 others after fleeing Houston, where he ultimately pleaded guilty to the 2018 slayings of his aunt and uncle. How many of you think it's no coincidence these guys were in a cell together? Pedophiles are a very large target in prison. They're a large target in jail. So you don't put this guy by himself. You don't put him in protective custody. You put him in a box with a shark. Month 1, they probably had a pool going. Villanueva was transferred into North Kern State Prison, a medium security facility that houses 3,500 inmates. On February 2nd, the Kern County coroner ruled Villanueva's death a homicide, and Escobar has since been placed in restrictive housing, where he should have been the whole time. While the prison's investigative services unit and the Kern County District Attorney investigate Villanueva's death, officials didn't release any other details or say how he was killed. I know how. You put him in the same cell with a killer, that's how. He murdered his aunt and uncle. What, you thought he was going to pump the brakes at a pedophile? After fleeing Texas Escobar began a string of deadly assaults in Santa Monica, where prosecutors said he beat his victims with bolt cutters or a baseball bat while they were asleep on the streets or the beach during a 2-week crime spree that claimed 5 lives and left 7 others wounded. With that information, knowing that's the backstory of an indiscriminate killer, there was no way them two should have been in a cell together. I guess that was someone's idea of frontier justice. Parolee Jihad Smith flaunted ghost gun on social media before a weapons arrest. Feds. It's 2023 and social media is already taking the work out of police work. If you're law enforcement, all you need is a car, a pair of handcuffs, and a cell phone, and your career is well underway. A parolee with a violent past, sounds like a movie trailer, was arrested after he posted a photo to Instagram that showed him flaunting an untraceable ghost gun. Federal prosecutors said, I mean, it's meant to be untraceable, but since you're taking pictures with it, that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Jihad Smith was driving on the Sawmill River Parkway February 20th when another driver allegedly spat out of their window while stopped at a traffic light, authorities said, which is highly unpleasant, but this is America. The gross move apparently irked Smith, who started beefing with the spitter who wrote this and allegedly threatened them with the ghost gun. According to prosecutors, the driver called cops. What did you think they were going to do? Who caught Smith and his passenger after their car smashed into a guardrail when they tried to flee, according to a Manhattan federal court filing. What did he think was going to happen? That he was just going to flash the gun, scare the guy, him and his buddy share the photos and have a good laugh later? Oh no. No. You're going to jail, and that driver is going to hawk spit at every traffic light from now on in your honor. Cops later found the Polymer 80 9mm ghost gun or weapons which do not have serial numbers and can be assembled from a kit or 3D printed under the passenger seat, authorities contend. Smith, whose rap sheet includes convictions for robbery and attempted murder, had previously posted a snap of the gun to his social media, authorities found. I can only speak for myself, but if I wasn't able to legally possess a firearm, you would never see me in a picture with one. But what do I know? Who needs a serial number? Just check the gram. Georgia woman intentionally crashes vehicle into Popeyes over missing biscuits. You mean the same biscuits that if you put one in a large drink, it'll soak up all the soda? You could use them to stop the bathtub. Hell, if you got enough of them, you could build a dam. A Georgia woman allegedly drove her vehicle into a Popeyes restaurant on purpose after biscuits were mistakenly left out of her order, according to officials. Belinda H. Miller, 50, was charged with first-degree criminal damage to property and aggravated assault. Now, I understand the first-degree criminal damage to property, but what's up with that aggravated assault? Did she put one of them biscuits in a sock and beat somebody with it? Did she whip one of those hockey pucks at somebody's head? Deputies with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office were called to the Popeyes location on Walton Way in Augusta after receiving reports of an accident with injuries. Apparently, the biggest accident was not giving that woman her biscuits, which set this chain of events in motion in the first place. The store's manager told police Miller became angry when she discovered no biscuits with her order and that she then drove her SUV into a restaurant entrance. Maybe they should have put some biscuits under her tire. She wouldn't have been able to move. Stuff a couple in her tailpipe. The manager said the restaurant corrected the mistake and gave her the biscuits prior to the crash. Then what was she mad for? The manager also said the woman threatened staff before the incident, including calling the store and threatening to drive her car into the building. Miller nearly struck an 18-year-old employee with her vehicle when she crashed into the store. She continued driving into the store until her vehicle was stopped by debris, according to arrest warrants. Are the biscuits really that good? Or did she just need something to prop up her coffee table at home? I don't know, because if it's not a blackened chicken sandwich, nothing in that restaurant excites me. February 25th, 2023, Avcast 412, episode 412, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? Hospital respiratory therapist who denied being a serial killer charged with murder of second patient. Why would anyone openly admit to being a serial killer in the first place? I see what you're trying to do. I'm not going to incriminate myself. You'll just have to wait and see. A former hospital respiratory therapist suspected of being involved in the deaths of 9 patients under her care was formally charged on Wednesday with first-degree murder in connection with the death of a 37-year-old patient. What was the line of thinking when all this was going on? Oh, that poor woman lost 9 patients on her watch in less than 5 months. What a terrible run of bad luck. Should we get her a card? Harper was battling bronchitis when he was admitted to Hendrick Medical Center on March 18, 2002. 3 days later, Hall, now 42, allegedly told nursing staff she entered Harper's room like the Reaper and found him seated on the edge of his bed. Harper allegedly told her he felt ill before falling backwards on his bed in complete respiratory arrest, Hall said. Per the documents, he later died. What's puzzling to me is why did it take them so long to realize that she's the common denominator in all these cases? Anytime she was in the vicinity, somebody always takes a turn for the worse. There's never any stories about her bringing somebody back from the brink of death. It's always L's. At the time of his death, Hall was allegedly found with a vial of succinylcholine in her pocket. Yeah, I read that, which she was not certified to administer. Prosecutors say the substance used to take Mr. Harper's life, succinylcholine, paralyzes the victim's muscles, including the diaphragm, causing the victim to suffer a ghastly death from suffocation while still maintaining full consciousness and awareness that they are unable to breathe and are dying, the documents read. So this is not like a doctor or a nurse that felt some type of moral obligation to take a terminal patient and help them ease out and transition to a painless death. Oh no, She was looking to introduce a new level of agony where you're awoke for your death, you're aware for your death, and you can't scream, you can't even hit the button to call for help. During Hall's employment at Hendrick Medical Center from December 2001 through May 2002, that's all it took. The rate of cardiac collapse incidents rose alarmingly. These incidents were viewed as medically suspicious. That's all they called it by hospital staff, say prosecutors, per the documents. 18 such incidents allegedly occurred during her 5-month employment stint, resulting in 9 deaths. According to court documents, prior to Hall's employment, the hospital averaged 1 cardiac collapse incident per year. So you mean to tell me this woman single-handedly, pre-COVID, took this hospital from one of the top facilities to a place where you say, hell no, don't take me there. That place is a death trap. Prop me up on the couch and turn on Family Feud. I'll take my chances. In 2012, amid speculation of her involvement in a patient's deaths, Hall agreed to an interview with KMBC where she denied being a serial killer. What did they think they were going to get out of her? A full confession? It's shocking to know that somebody can think of something so horrible of you and the real truth is out there somewhere, Hall told the news station at the time. Well, there you have it, people. I think they owe this woman an apology. Reinstate her. Give her a chance to really pad the stats this time around. This is the second murder charge Hall is facing in May 2022. Now, it's been 20 years. She was charged with first-degree murder in connection to the death of 75-year-old patient Fern Franco, who was still allowing her to work in healthcare after all these allegations against her. People previously reported she pleaded not guilty. Let's be clear, this woman could be directly responsible for way more than just the 2 murders that they're charging her with, but these are their strongest 2 cases, and they don't want to muddy the waters with a bunch of maybes. Because of Hall's singular proximity to stricken patients like the Reaper, her access to pharmaceuticals, which are deadly if misused, and her discovery of and method of notifying staff of every patient's cardiac emergency, nursing staff believe Hall was responsible for the patient's deaths, according to prosecutors. You don't say. Oh, that poor, poor woman. She's always on the scene whenever a patient starts coding. It's almost like she knows. UPS employees in Texas charged with trafficking cocaine. Looks like Brown's been moving a little white. Not like those kids over there at FedEx dumping a package out on the side of the highway. Let Brown help your operation grow. 2 UPS employees in southern Texas are part of a group of 5 arrested for allegedly trafficking cocaine. Orlando Candelario Almanza, 49, of Wittenberg, and Fidencio Salinas Jr., 51, of Farr, made their initial appearances before U.S. Magistrate Judge Nadia S. Madrano Monday morning. How did UPS find out that these 2 were moving cocaine, but somehow still didn't know their trucks are hot as hell in the summertime and people can die in them? also arrested last week and who made their appearances already. They said made their appearances like this was the red carpet for drug dealers, were Javier Enrique Mendoza, 48 of FAR, and Jose Felipe Lozano, 58 of Edinburgh. Enrique Bernardo Gomez, 45 of Hidalgo, was previously in custody. They got the whole band together on related charges and will make his appearance in the near future. The multi-count indictment was returned on February 21st and unsealed upon the arrest last week. The five are accused of conspiring to transport cocaine through UPS packages between March 24th and October 3rd, 2022. Leave a comment. Do you think these shipping and freight companies are moving a lot of contraband, whether the employees know it or not? And this is just one of the cases that went noticed. Salinas and Almanza are both allegedly UPS employees who knowingly transported the packages of cocaine. The charges allege Mendoza provided the packages of cocaine to UPS employees, while Lozano allegedly provided fraudulent labels for the packages. That's what I wanted to know. The brains of the operation is the one who knew how to navigate that website to print those damn labels. That's your ringleader right there. Gomez stored the cocaine at his residence prior to transport, according to the charges announced by the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of Texas. Wait a minute. Your boy Gomez got stuck with the crappy end of the operation because the other two, all they had to do was get it from point A to point B. Hell, one guy, all he had to do was print the stickers. This guy had to sleep in the same house with the cocaine. No way. February 27th, 2023. Podcast 413, episode 413. Let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we?